Dude, you know what I saw that I hadn't seen yet? This freaking mysterious limousine. That is probably, I cannot imagine how fucking stonks that would be in draft. You get this thing and you're just like, all right, you can't kill it unless you have instant speed removal, and it's just gonna like eat every creature you have ever. Like,
oh wow!
fucking...
4 attacks. Wait.
Yeah, exactly, and it just keeps exiling stuff.
Yeah, that seems.
So this will be the Monobrain podcast number 4, going over the new Capenna set and the new Capenna Commander set for Modern cEDH. I'm joined today by Jesse and John of Spite Plays.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hello.
All right, so I've selected about 32 cards from the set that we can talk about for the context of Modern and EDH. When we get to the end, if you think I overlooked something, we can talk about any cards, but you ready to go through them?
That sounds good.
Let's do it.
All right, so the first card is A Little Chat, which is a 1 and a blue instant with Casualty 1. Casualty is a keyword that basically says you can sacrifice a creature that has power equal to whatever the casualty number is or greater in order to copy it. So in this case, it's Casualty 1, so you have to sacrifice a creature with power 1 or greater, or you can, rather. And then it says, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the other on the bottom of your library. So if you sack a 1 power or greater creature, you can spend 2 mana to look at the top 2 twice and put one of them in your hand and the other on the bottom.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool card. You know, this reminds me of Sleight of Hand, but doubled, but also for 2 mana, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm assuming basically all the casualty cards, you have to pay the casualty cost for them to be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you would not pay the casualty cost on that.
Unless you just like need to, right? But you need to have like good ways in your deck to activate the casualty cost for all these cards, right?
So
it's a big thing.
Yeah. So the basic question is there a blue deck that's playing like a bunch of small creatures that it doesn't care about that you would want to play this in? Maybe like Edric or Yuriko have a bunch of little tiny creatures that become much worse as the game goes on.
That sounds pretty good. Edric, lol. But yeah, the Yuriko, I could see. Actually, I was thinking of Malcolm Tana, because you make like 1/1s, right?
Because you make saprolings.
Yeah, you make saprolings, right?
I think it would. I could see that. Usually Malcolm's kind of like on the back burner, though. It's definitely not like your main game plan. It's just something that it's like, hey, if it goes late and it comes up, you're like, cool.
Right. But those decks play like the sack tutors and like stuff like that, right?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, so I think this could fit into there. This actually seems like it could be playable in like certain cEDH decks, because the cool thing about this is
I feel like cEDH is in the right spot for this card.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could see that. It might be a little too weak, but I think the instant speed might help, just because instant speed in cEDH is so important, in my opinion. Like, especially when there's a rule of law or like something out, like sorcery just becomes like 10 times worse.
Yeah. I think, though, I don't know, I don't really, just like in the history of the format, having like instant speed 1-time draw effects have not been the route that you really want to be going with. So true. I don't think it's gonna like see anything there, but I do think it like sees a good amount of cards. Being able to like sack a 1/1 that you make off of something to then see 4 cards and take 2 of them is like pretty good. Like if we can look at a considerable card that's kind of like the same thing. What's the 4 mana card that has flashback that the control decks are like starting to run now?
Memory Deluge?
Yeah, Memory Deluge.
That's right.
And it's kind of close in comparison to that. It's not, exact, but it does remind me of Memory Deluge, except it's going to be, when you're casualtying it. You do need a way to turn on that casualty, and I don't know what deck does that, but there's like plenty of ways to just get 1/1s onto the field, and or like, I don't know, I guess you could like Snapcaster Mage this. You could like have a Snapcaster Mage in play and then be like, all right, I'm gonna little chat my Snapcaster Mage after blocking with it, and then you're like, all right, I've got my chump block, and now I'm getting this 2-mana card that refills 2 cards. I think it would have to be a deck like that that wants to be playing this card. I'm not exactly sure what that show would be, but I can see that being something that you want to do.
All right. Are we ready to move on to the next card?
Yep.
Yeah.
So this one I think is the one that's generated the most buzz out of the set. It is An Offer You Can't Refuse.
Very divisive, yeah.
Is a single blue mana instant counter target non-creature spell. Its controller creates 2 treasure tokens. So if you're playing this as negate, it's basically unplayable. So the question is, can you play it in some other way? So I believe all the Belcher players have been discussing this as a way to counter your own stuff. Like you can counter your own pacts to generate treasures. So there's way number 1 to abuse the card is counter your own stuff to generate treasures, possibly loop it using Pyromancer Ascension. The other way would be if you're playing a deck where you don't care if your opponents get the treasures. Like if you're a combo deck that I don't care, I just need this as protection, so I'm just going to counter whatever you play. Or if there was like a blue deck that was a control deck that plays Karn the Great Creator, so you can shut off the treasures. Maybe that's the way to do it.
Or maybe a deck that does like both, where it's like, it's using it as a combo outlet, uses it as like a mana ritual for a combo outlet on its turn, but then it also like can use it as protection in between if it needs that.
Yeah, but I have Belcher, and like the Belcher Discord was going pretty wild over this card. A lot of people. It was pretty divisive in that Discord as well. People.
You know what this actually is kind of making me think? It's making me wonder if you can like put this in modern Adnaz and use this as a way to win at instant speed if you have like 1 mana. You would need like I don't know, your opponent to put something on the stack, which is actually kind of a problem because a lot of the time in that deck you're behind on tempo and like you're like, all right, this is my final turn to win here. And then you're like, okay, I just need to win here. But if you have like the ad nauseum and only 1 mana open and your opponent is just going to like swing for lethal on their turn and never cast anything. See, what the idea here is you play packs in your main deck, so you're trying to like consolidate your mana ritual pile to like good cards. So it's like, okay, what if I just like play like 3 pact negations and then I play 2 offers, and so I'm like, okay, I will ad nauseum on your turn, pact your thing, but counter my pact with an offer, and then make 2 and then do that again and then make 3 and then be like, all right, now I can like cast my stupid lightning storm because rip monkey.
I kind of see this in mainly a lot of people. I feel like we're really hyped about this card for cEDH a lot because it's basically it's
reverse spell pierce.
Yeah, it's reverse spell pierce is what we call it, because instead of them having to pay 2, you give them 2 mana. So in that regard, I don't know, it's a really good late game is what we're saying. Like usually in the late game people have more than enough mana, so just having a counter for something, and like spell pierce gets way worse in the late game for cEDH because it's like you have too much mana. It doesn't even matter that they could easily just pay the 2. So you're kind of trading off of there, but the downside is if you have to counter something and say you're playing like a turbo deck and you're going off early, you're giving the person that's like playing more control-y deck extra mana, which probably unlocks them into more counter spells.
Very likely does. And especially if there's like a Mystic Remore or Heuristic Study out, this spell becomes like, if you're using it to protect your own win con when there's like one of those cards out, it becomes like almost, it's just not going to work really.
It's just not good in that situation. I actually see this being played more in control decks that don't really care to give them mana because they have like they just want cheap.
Well, they want to like resource deny their opponents anyways, and not necessarily like mana denial them, but they want to like just be preventing their win cons and draw engines. And then if you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna counter your spell that matters here, you can have some extra mana, but if I'm like playing this game plan of stop you from having actual action cards and resolving action cards. It can work with that, but in the early game, pretty much any way you look at it, it's just like, I don't know, it's like, it's not good. Giving your opponent 2 mana is like,
I think it's fine against, like, if you're playing in like if you're playing a more control-y deck and you're playing against like turbo decks, I think stopping their win con, usually in a lot of turbo decks that can't refuel, like say like they just like ritual out and then like cast Peer into the Abyss, and then you counter it with this and you give them 2 treasures, I'm pretty sure they're just gonna sit there and do nothing for a couple turns. That doesn't matter. Like 2 treasures is nothing.
I kind of disagree. I think that a lot of the faster turbo decks have like a draw engine in the command zone that they can then be like, all right, well, if I don't have anything, if I don't have anything, I can at least like, now maybe I had 1 extra mana floating, and so I'm like, all right, I guess I'll just like play my Tymna because this gives me 2, and then like try to get back in the game. But
I think it stops those like turbo decks, like the one like
if you're playing ROG and you have like, you know,
or like even Crick or something like that, like it's gonna usually you just stop them, and then they have to like sit around and refuel really slowly. Versus like obviously Tymna Crom is gonna refuel no matter what. They're just that's kind of just gonna happen. They're like a mid range deck anyway. So it's.
I think this card will definitely show up in EDH in both control and combo decks. As for modern, I don't know about I really doubt it.
Yeah, I can only see it in combo decks and I think just 1v1 formats.
I think Belcher is where it might find a home, but even the Belcher Discord is kind of weird about it.
It's like casting Pact of the Titan and countering it with an offer. Like this just seems kind of magical Christmas land scenario.
Yeah. It is still kind of like, and you know, you really don't want to cast it on your opponent when like the premier counter spell is just actual factual counter spell, and you're like, all right, I'll counter one, and then it's like, oh, I can actually cast my second one. Cool, I'll cast another one. But
all right, ready for the next one?
Yeah. Let's hop on.
All right, so moving on, we have Anhelo the Painter. This is from the Commander decks. It is a Grixis-colored 3-mana Vampire Assassin 1/3, a legendary creature, with Death Touch, and it says the first instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn has Casualty 2. So the first instant or sorcery you cast, you can sack a creature with power 2 or greater to copy it. What do you guys think of this?
This is it looks really cool. Like if it works, like this is really good. But the problem is when I look at Grixis and when I look at things that either copy or cast things from the graveyard, I noticed some other card from the set that did similar things. It's like a vampire as well. I just think of just like Kess. Like, why aren't you just playing Kess in a way? And then the Casualty 2. If it was Casualty 1, this would be like actually like
it'd be a very different discussion. I feel like
2 is pretty steep.
2 means you can't just be making tokens and stuff. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It means you have to have actual, real creatures on the field. Usually
turn 2, which is awesome because like you could do it on other people's turns, but like you're not gonna have
like
2 toughness. It's like you're not gonna have 2 toughness creatures
or 2 power rather.
Or sorry, 2 power. 2 power creatures constantly out because I don't see how in cEDH you could afford the disadvantage of having to play like all these random 2 power stuff.
You eat the swans that your opponents give you from Swan Song. There we go, broke it.
Now we're talking. Even in EDH, it's like it just makes me think of Calamax with extra steps. And
so your verdict is too much of a hurdle to jump through?
I really think so. It's like Calamax.
Maybe someone might break it, but I don't know.
I don't know. I looked at this card and I just thought, it's 3 mana. You can copy stuff. Like, it seems decent.
It came out. It looks like good at first, but then you kind of like read it and you're just like, oh man, this is kind of hard to do it.
I don't know. Just makes me feel like you should probably play Calamax instead. But
yeah, I think I agree.
That's my initial impression.
All right, so moving on, we have Bootlegger's Stash. Which is a 6-mana green mythic artifact, and it says lands you control have tap, create a treasure token. So this card, if you have at least 5 mana, which you probably should because you have Bootlegger Stash apparently, combos with Time Sieve to give you infinite turns. And notably, it and Time Sieve are both artifacts, so you can get them both using artifact tutor cards, including Karn the Great Creator. So Karn the Great Creator now has a infinite turn combo that it can fetch out of your sideboard.
Pretty hot.
Kind of cool.
If that's good, I don't know, because you got to take your Karn down twice and then pay 8 mana and still have a bunch left over for treasures. So I don't know if that's actually good enough.
I don't know. It is. Maybe it's like it's a combo you just like keep completely in your sideboard.
Yeah, you could.
And you just try to like 2-turn it with your Karn, and you're like, all right, I'll fetch the Bootlegger Stash first, and then I'll get the Time Sieve. Or maybe you like, I don't know. Yeah, just like being 6 mana is hard.
Why do I feel like Karn Ponza can play this for some odd reason? Like
it's gonna be pretty tough for them to make blue, black, or Time Sieve, but sure.
It's with the Bootlegger Stash, bro.
That's right, because of the treasures, yeah.
Yeah, the treasures will do it, but that is pretty funny.
Also, potentially Urza can play it.
That's true.
That's yeah, that makes a little bit more sense.
I think if any Karn deck's gonna play it, it's mono black coffers, because that deck can generate a ton of mana.
Oh,
yeah. You also need like to have like a fair amount of lands in play for this, right? The combo is 5, and then like actual use of it, I'm like, I don't know exactly what other stuff you can have that's like good in general. That
I guess Tron also generates a bunch of mana and can
get
it too.
Yeah.
The thing is, you don't have that many lands in Tron.
No, but you can like cast the Bootlegger Stash, and then I don't know. I don't know.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, actually,
how do you make it work?
Tron maybe. This is like a weird card where it's just so high mana costed, and like it just, I don't know. It's one of those cards that's hard to evaluate.
All right, can we agree that its only use is comboing with Time Sieve, and if you're not doing that, it sucks?
Yes.
Probably, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Once you're at 6, like
it basically just says reverse mana burn. Every mana you don't spend, you have left over.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. I could see that this is like played in a Urza Karn deck, because you already have a bunch of artifacts on the field, and so what you could do is like you place Time Sieve in the main deck, and then you fetch like Bootlegger Stash out of the sideboard, and then you like, I don't know, you play the Bootlegger Stash and make some things, and then because you already have a bunch of treasures out, you can take the extra turn and untap with Bootlegger Stash, which is probably like the hardest fucking thing to do, is to untap with this card. You know?
I'm just thinking, like, there's already been attempts to put Time Sieve in the Thopter Foundry combo decks, and it's like almost good enough, but it hasn't quite gotten there.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I could see maybe like this is a one of in the sideboard for your Karn package and your Urza deck. Like, you know?
Yeah. If it goes infinite, I mean, bound to be somewhere.
All right, moving on.
Let's see what this
Broker's Charm.
So we got Broker's Charm. This is our Bant Charm. It costs 3 mana, green, white, and blue. Instant. Choose one. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, or destroy target enchantment, or draw 2 cards. What do you guys think?
I think it's cool. I don't know where its home is.
Yeah,
but I think it's cool. I'm not sure where its home is. I don't know what Bant deck wants to like play medium-sized creatures to use the bite effect of it, and then also be able to be like, okay, well, I'm like a pseudo control deck, so now I can like choose I want to draw some cards here. But
yeah, the destroy enchantment and draw 2 cards actually makes this look like it's pretty playable. I just don't know where. It has a lot of good options.
Do you have any? Yeah. Do you have any ideas, Ami? I don't know. Like, I don't know. I feel like
I don't think this card's actually good enough to see play anywhere, but it's very close. It is a charm that has a bunch of relevant modes, one of which is card advantage. The others are okay. Take this for example, like Archmage's Charm in Modern.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Like that's a card, has 3 mana instant, draw 2, and then it has other relevant modes of countering or taking control of something. Now the other modes on Broker's Charm aren't as good as that, but they are potentially removal, and then another kind of niche removal. So it meets that bar at least.
Yeah.
But
I feel like it could see, but I just don't know where.
Yeah, but I don't think it will get there either. You'd have to have a Bant control deck that's also running creatures, probably.
Yeah, that's the weird part about it. Like, I don't know, maybe some like Bant flash deck in Standard would want to put. I don't really know what the state of Standard is, so I can't like, fully say that. But I could, that's, I don't know. That's kind of my vision.
For Modern and EDH, I'm not really sure.
The enchantment destruction mode is a lot better in EDH than Modern.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, moving on.
Sounds good.
We have Courier's Briefcase, which is a 2-mana, 1 and a green artifact treasure. When it enters, you create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. You can tap it to sack it and add 1 mana of any color because it's a treasure. You can pay Wooburg, so all 5 colors, tap and sack it to draw 3 cards. What do you think?
Reminds me of Prosperous Innkeeper for Winota. Makes a 1/1 dude. So it's like a treasure.
You know what? When people were talking about this, but you can't play it. You can play it in the Pioneer Winota.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah. You could definitely play it in Pioneer Winota, but this would be actually really cool. And like
the thing that I don't like about it and why I think I think the fact that it doesn't like gain life like Prosperous Innkeeper is relevant, but I think like the actually more relevant effect of it is that it gets like it costs more with your Thalias, which like isn't the best. And it's not. You're never gonna be able to like use that second effect in the current state of like Pioneer Winota. You can't play 5 colors, and you don't have like stuff that fixes.
I think Prosperous Innkeeper's honestly just a better version of this card. And then if the sacrifice
for that deck specifically, I don't think it's a better. Yeah, I don't think it's like a better card in general. Like if you can find a deck that makes use of both effects, where it's like or just like all of the effects, where it's like this thing can then sacrifice itself to draw 3 cards, but then it's it can like be a treasure if you need it, and then I don't know what you do with the 1/1. I guess the 1/1 is like food for different random casualties cards.
I think that's what they're going for.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm looking at this as a card that potentially generates 3 different sacrifices. So there's the card itself, the token that it makes, and then it can make a treasure if you have stuff that triggers on sacking or dying. And then, so other cards, again, like Prosperous Innkeeper, have already been close to playable, and this is similar to those cards. And then it has another ability to draw 3 tacked onto it.
Yeah.
But I can't think of a deck that would be able to utilize that. Because the decks that are sacking creatures right now are Yawgmoth, Red-Black Anvil deck, and Junsack. And none of those can pay the Wooburg cost. And they all have better options of things to sacrifice than this card.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah, if there was if it was like an amount of colorless mana, it wasn't just like Wooburg, I feel like there'd definitely be a deck for this. But like being Wooburg is like,
that's pretty hard.
It's a weird place to be. Yeah.
I've just learned never to underestimate this kind of stuff. It's a card that is sort of okay on the rate of what it's doing, and then potentially has the ability as a cheap artifact to draw cards and be recurred and draw more cards.
Yeah. No, I'll definitely look out for it, but I don't know where.
Yeah, I don't. But I think this card will. Yeah, I don't know, but I can definitely see this like being played somewhere.
All right, moving on to Cryptic Pursuit, which is a 4-mana, 2 blue-red enchantment. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, manifest the top card of your library, which means you take it and put it face down, so it's a 2/2 creature. And whenever a face-down creature you control dies, exile it. If it's an instant or sorcery card, you may cast that card until the end of your next turn. Does this card have any shot in Izzet, Spellslinger, Storm Commander decks?
I don't know. This is cool, though.
I think that it could. It needs to. I don't know. I think that the deck that's using this needs to have a way to like get rid of its own creatures so it can like take advantage of that second thing. So
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a deck that wanted to be running like spell slinging stuff, but also wants like random sack outlet stuff. So I could see this in. You know what I could see this in, Jesse? I could see this in a Dargo deck. Because you make a
Oh,
bunch of dudes, and then you can sack them all to Dargo.
that's right. I forgot
Yeah.
about that. Would actually be really
So if
cool.
this was in like a Grixis Dargo deck, like Dargo Silas or something, you could play like a bunch of instants or sorceries, make some dudes for your Dargo, cast Dargo, get your stuff back, be like, oh, I drew a burnt offering Dargo, do some bullshit, draw a shit
really
ton of cards, you know?
Yeah, no, that's actually really cool. I love Dargo too. I want Dargo to be played more personally. I think that it's like, I don't know if it's underrated, but it's just a cool card. I like it. I feel like
The
there's
old
ways to break it. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's just so many ways to break Dargo, and I feel like it's always on like it's just not like always the best deck, but it's like really close. It's really
Or
close
you
to being
could-
really good.
Yeah. Maybe you could even try this in like a teamer Dargo deck where you're, I don't know, playing like a more controlling role, I guess. But then you have like you have like Thrasios Dargo, and then you play this. And
Yeah.
Then,
I mean, the turn you cast
get like a
Dargo,
shit ton of value.
yeah, the turn you cast Dargo, you're gonna sack like 3 creatures, right? 3 creatures, and then cast Dargo, and so you'll effectively just be drawing 3 cards, and then having like
Well, if they're spells.
Not quite. Yeah. I think that's actually a relevant piece of text, and that's why the deck needs to be like a proactive deck, something that's trying to do something on like the turn. That I don't know that you're like gaining card advantage with this, because otherwise, if you exile a bunch of instants and sorceries and they're just a bunch of counter spells, you're just going to be there like, okay.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Is just the top mode good enough? Is Talrond good enough?
I think it's Talrand, but it has like upside, like Manifest is, I would argue, like better too, because then it like if you get creatures with it, you can turn those into your actual creatures. So it's like, I think this is going to be played a lot in different like casual EDH decks, and I think it's probably going to be overlooked in cEDH for a while, but I don't know, those crazy brewers are going to like find a home for this. I think this card is going to find a home. It does enough. It has 2 effects that are like card advantage effectively, and it's cool.
All right, moving on. We have Endless Detour, which is a Bant instant that costs 3 mana. It says the owner of target spell, non-land permanent, or card in a graveyard puts it on the top or bottom of their library. So it's essentially a Bant charm, but a very interesting one.
This card is very cool. Yeah. The first thing that that appears in my head is like it has like similarities with like Unsubstantiate, where you can like bounce a spell that's on the stack or one that's like in your hand, but then also being in a graveyard on top or bottom means that you can you're usually probably not using this as grave hate, and you can often use this as like a Noxious Revival at the same time.
Yeah, this is cool. This has like a lot of really interesting applications, especially I feel like for like cEDH. Just because there's so many different things you can do with it. So it's one of those cards that feels like it'll always be relevant. It doesn't just sit in your hand, which is pretty cool.
But at the same time, in cEDH, I don't know. I feel like it's not efficient enough.
Yeah.
So let's go through what it does. So you can quote unquote counter a spell that's uncounterable, although they'll get it back, but whatever. Also get rid of relevant permanents on the field. You can return your own stuff to protect it from removal. You can screw up people's breach lines or reanimation targets. You can get back cards that are relevant for yourself that you want. So the question, so it's obviously all the modes are good. The question is just, is the ability to choose between them worth 3 mana and in Bant colors?
Yeah, I think it being 3 mana is pretty rough, and being banned is like.
Yeah, I think like 3 mana interactions are really hard in ED or CDH specifically. It's just like, I don't know, unless it's really like a huge blowout card that can like get you pretty far ahead, you just like can't afford to hold it.
I think this card would actually be pretty good if it said you could choose what to do with it.
Yeah, if you can choose like top or bottom the card.
I think if you were able to choose, it would actually possibly see more play. If I don't know if it's going to see play, but I think it would definitely be like something you might want to include. But this is, I don't know, 3 mana and having it be in all colors is just like kind of hard.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on, we have Evelyn the Covetous, which is a 5 mana Grixis creature that costs 2 black and then hybrid blue-black and hybrid black-red. It is a legendary vampire rogue 2/5 with flash. It says whenever it or another vampire enters the battlefield under your control, exile the top card of each player's library with a collection counter on it. Once each turn, you may play a card from exile with a collection counter on it if it was exiled by an ability you control, and you may spend mana as though were any color to cast it.
This is interesting. I was thinking of, when I thought of this card, I was thinking of Jaleva.
Yeah, that was the first thought that I had.
Yeah, it reminds me of like Jaleva, but I guess you can put like more vampire. You'd have to like put more vampires in your deck, I guess, to like trigger this.
I don't know if vampires are good that you actually want.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. If there's like any, there probably is some.
But
like,
there are some like a couple interesting things about it beyond that. I think when you just look at it and compare it to like specifically what like Jaleva's doing, it feels like kind of worse. Obviously, you can like, it says you can play anything, right? Yeah, you can play any of the cards that you exile, which is like cool. So if you exile, it's different than Jaleva that if you exile like, just like it says play, right? Yeah, if you like exile lands or whatever you exile, you're gonna like be able to use it. You can only play one though, right?
Once each turn.
Yeah.
Which means you can get around that restriction via instance.
Yeah.
Right.
But the thing that I do think there's a couple things that are interesting about Evelyn that I think make it different than Jaleva.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Number one is its ability to combo with World Gorger Dragon. You can, so you can like set up a World Gorger Dragon loop and then flash this in while you've like made infinite mana already. And then with that, you can exile everybody's deck and then
I didn't even think about that. That's really cool.
Either just pass a turn or cast like one spell that you want. And then having flash is cool.
I think that was the most like for me, that flash, like I was like reading the whole and I was like, okay, I'm going through it. And I was like, this looks all right. And I saw flash and I was like, you know what? Having flash on like a commander like this is actually really important. Yeah. Because you can just hold up, like we said, instant speed stuff in cEDH is so important because it has to go like, say you cast Kess, it's on the battlefield, everyone's like staring at it now because like they're like, oh shoot, I don't want like Kess to go off on the next turn. So now everyone has a chance to deal with it. Versus this, you could just hold up the mana and be like, okay, I can hold up counter spells or like whatever I want in case like something happens. Or hold up. Yeah, this is perfect mana for Adnos. So you're just like, okay, I'll hold it up. It goes around, and then you're like, okay, nothing happened. I'm gonna flash in Evelyn on your end step. Yeah. And then now it's like, no one was like they didn't want to waste their turn holding up mana to like deal with your Evelyn that's gonna come down like later on, and then now you get to untap with it, cast all the spells that you got. So honestly, I think this is a pretty cool commander.
So it's like, kind of draws 4 cards, sort of.
Yeah.
And then every vampire you play after that also sort of does that.
Yeah. I think the more important thing was actually the World Gorger Dragon loops. I didn't even think of that. That's really cool.
That was a great call.
Yeah.
I think World Gorger Dragon is like the reason to play this deck. I think, I don't know what like vampire synergy stuff you could do to like maybe get like a little bit more value from this commander. I'm sure that I don't know if there's anything that makes like vampire tokens that's like cheap and like worth playing, or if there's like, I don't know, any in general just like good vampires in this format.
Yeah, there probably is. I'm just not thinking of them.
So here's the big question. Does Evelyn dethrone Edgar Markov as the best vampire commander?
I mean, well,
Some better colors.
Yeah, so
I don't know, it's weird.
If you're doing a vampire like themed deck, you're probably gonna play Edgar Markov, but like if you're playing cEDH, this is probably much better, I'd say, because of the colors.
Grixis colors are strong.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you're comparing vampire, if you want to play a vampire deck, probably play Edgar Markov. But Evelyn's cool.
I don't even know if that's true actually, because I think the benefit of drawing, quote unquote, a bunch of extra cards off all your vampires is worth more than generating free 1/1s.
Yeah, unless you're playing like Razaketh stuff, which is like the real reason to be like, oh, I get extra 1/1s, cool. But yeah, being able to draw off of all your vampires and casual EDH, like that's really freaking nice.
Yeah, I think this card's gonna see play for sure, like in some fashion, to be honest. And like even cEDH, I could see a lot of people testing with it for a little bit. I don't know if it'll stay around, but it looks really cool.
Yeah, it would be a different kind of vampire deck in EDH. It'd be like a more controlling one, I guess, because like I don't know, you're not like out aggro. It doesn't provide that aggressive element that Edgar Markov does, but it gives like a bunch of card advantage, and it's like you can hold it up and be like, all right, I have like counter spells or whatever, and then be like, all right, no, I'm playing Evelyn now. But yeah, in cEDH, it's definitely like a World Gorger Dragon deck. And
dude, I'm gonna build this deck. This is cool.
Yeah, and it's like
I like it.
Fair card advantage. I'm just thinking if there's a way to gain like some real value off of Evelyn, other than just like the first ETB. If there's like actual fair cards that you can play that like fine in the deck, but are also like fair and worth it to just play.
I think there's a lot of good cheap vampires to play.
Yeah, or I don't know if they're like relevant though.
At the very least, like off the top of my head, Insolent Neonate is a 1-mana vampire that can rummage.
Oh yeah, that's good, and that's exactly what you want for a World Gorger Dragon deck. And in fact, if you're doing that, I think there's like a bunch of vampires that can like loot and put stuff in the yard, especially with like the new blood token stuff. That might be like pretty decent, and you might want to. I don't know. I think there's a line between just playing it as a turbo deck with World Gorger Dragon, and between like playing it as the line between playing it as like just a full on turbo but World Gorger Dragon as well deck, and also playing it as like a mid range World Gorger Dragon deck that uses like various vampires and reanimation strategies to get ahead. I think there's somewhere in between there is like what's going to be played, and I don't know exactly, but I think this card is definitely going to be played.
All right, so man, we talked a lot about Evelyn. Let's move on to Extract the Truth, which is a 2-mana 1-black sorcery that says choose one. Target opponent reveals their hand. You may choose a creature, enchantment, or planeswalker card from it and have them discard it. Or target opponent sacrifices an enchantment. Ooh, so it's a
black enchantment removal.
Modal enchantment / discard effect in black.
This is when I thought of this card, I was just like, hey, Crick can get rid of Rest in Peace another way.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking of it.
Still probably don't want to play this, but I don't know. It's like it's black enchantment removal. I don't know. It's cool.
It's the same mana cost as Feed the Swarm, which has occasionally popped up as well.
Yeah.
It also like looks at something. It can like take something from somebody's hand. It's cool. I think you're probably just like not going to see it in any cEDH decks, but I think this card's going to be played a bunch.
I was thinking about it more for modern. It's probably the best. The deck it's best against is probably blue-white control because it can make them pitch their planeswalkers, and you can also make them sack.
What deck do you think would want to play this card?
That I don't know.
Yeah.
You'd have to be a deck that's lacking in options, so probably mono black or close to it, so you don't have cards that can deal with enchantments and other colors.
And it would probably be like a sideboard card too.
Yeah.
Yeah. A mono black sideboard card. I can see that. It's cool. I like it.
Any thoughts, Jesse?
I don't have very many thoughts on it.
It's pretty good. I can see a sideboard card for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on. There is Falco Spara, Pactweaver, which is a 4-mana Bant legendary bird demon, 3/3, flying trample. It enters the battlefield with a shield counter on it, which means it doesn't. It's kind of similar to Indestructible, where if it would be destroyed by either destroy effects or damage, you remove the shield counter instead. You may look at the top card of your library anytime, and you may cast spells from the top of your library by removing a counter from a creature you control in addition to paying their other costs. So the reason I put this on here is, does this have any possible chance of showing up as the top end of Hardened Scales?
I didn't even think about that. That's cool.
Funny. I think this could be like...
I was about to roast this card.
Yeah, I think this could be at like the top end of like a deck with Devoted Druid in it, because it's like you can keep removing that counter and like cast the next thing and untap it. I don't think that's like great, but I don't think... I think like Hardened Scales doesn't need a card like it. Like it's cool, but yeah, you can't get past lands. Like you can cast a bunch of things, but I don't know. I think like Hardened Scales has enough ways to just like use its mana most of the time, and like having a clunky draw like this is I can't imagine that.
I like your suggestion better of a Devoted Druid shell.
Yeah, I think the thing about with like Devoted Druid and how you cast something, untap it by taking the counter off, and you can just like churn through and try to like find your new Devoted Druid combo pieces, which there's a bunch of these now. Like they printed that new white one that makes infinite mana, and then there's another one in this set which we'll get to.
That card, bro.
They're just like, oh, Devoted Druid, let's break the shit out of it. Yeah. Excuse me. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. I see this card being in like the top end of a Devoted Druid deck. Something they can like Eldritch into or something as well, like by sacking.
Side note: don't play this in cEDH. Thank you.
Yeah,
just yeah. Does this have any shot whatsoever in EDH?
No. I would no.
there just aren't enough like good creatures with counters on them, right?
Yeah,
there's like Wall of Roots and
Walking Ballista, maybe.
No,
and Devoted Druid. Like I just play Tyam.
Tyam's sick, and then Elsha's also.
Yeah, if you want to play creatures with counters, play Tyam. If you want to play top of the library deck Storm, play play Elsha. Don't do this. I don't think. I think like again, the only thing you could do with this is like some sort of Devoted Druid
lines, yeah.
But even that I think is like not the best.
All right. So moving on to Jailbreak, which is a 2-mana white sorcery, which says return target permanent card in an opponent's graveyard to the battlefield under their control. When that permanent enters the battlefield, return up to 1 target permanent card with equal or less mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield.
This card's hot. I like this card. This just reminds the only thing I thought about this is when someone removes my stacks piece, the next turn I just cast Jailbreak and bring back like something else that like as something like that is like you get to choose the thing that they get, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this is actually going to be pretty good in cEDH. So I don't know. I feel like it's be I don't know good, but I feel like it could be playable because a lot of the times especially if you're playing a stacks deck, you're getting hated out from like a lot of people, and some person might like remove something that like was like your value engine, and you're just like, oh yeah, you have like some random.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you have this like random thing in there, like, okay, I'm gonna return that, and it's like it's not really affecting the game right now, and then I'll return like the thing that was like actually making me win.
Yeah. The thing is, it's like you also have to return some, or it's like your opponents also have to have something in the graveyard, and you're not like actively sending shit to your opponent's graveyards, and your permanents are usually like higher CMC than your opponents.
That is true. Yeah.
I love the design space for this card. I'm so happy that white is getting more reanimation type stuff in this set. It makes me really happy. I want to keep seeing that happen. It's only a matter of time before they like print good stuff, and you can make like white decks that are really graveyard focused, which I think is like an underutilized space for white to gain virtual card advantage. No, it's cool. I'm really happy that this is in the current design space.
The best cards to return with this are Dockside and Breach, right?
Yeah.
That would be pretty good too. Combo
like
decks, actually, that's pretty good.
I think, yeah, on that note as well, I think if you're in like a wheel heavy meta, this card is like decent because you can get back those types of cards. There's always going to be stuff in the graveyard, and I don't know, if you ever felt like you maybe needed a second copy of Savine's Reclamation, you've got Jailbreak.
So one thing to note about this card is it doesn't return the card simultaneously. The part where it returns your own permanent is a trigger. So they can return their card first and then exile your card before it resolves.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. I don't yeah, that's a pretty relevant thing, but
all right, so next up is Luxior, Giada's Gift, is a 1-mana legendary artifact equipment that says equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each counter on it. Equipped permanent isn't a planeswalker and is a creature in addition to its other types, but you can still activate its loyalty abilities. And then you can equip it for 3 mana or equip it to a planeswalker for 1 mana. So a couple of things. This goes infinite with Devoted Druid.
Yeah.
It makes your planeswalkers really big, in particular Renin 6 and any of the Gideons that animate themselves. So Renin 6 will be however large it is, and then Gideon will be probably 4 counters plus the 4/4 that it becomes, so it'll be an 8/8 or bigger. And it also doubles the power of all your hardened scale modular creatures.
Doesn't it protect your stuff as well?
No.
Or your planeswalkers? Like, or can they still?
Well, it protects them in that they can't be attacked anymore.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And being a 1-mana artifact, it is also tutorable off of Urza Saga and Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah, no, I think this deck, or excuse me, this card definitely has a home.
Yeah, this is gonna be something. And then also Devoted Druid. I swear they're loving that card.
Yeah, Devoted Druid is like
they got like 3 combo pieces in the last like 2 sets.
Yeah, being able to like, I could see this as like a one of, and then they play like Urza Saga in their deck, and then all of a sudden they just like fetch it. They already have like so many other things, but yeah, it's like I don't know.
I think being able to be fetched off Urza Saga makes a card like infinitely better, which is funny.
It's super relevant. Super relevant. The equipping on planeswalkers thing. Again, I think this is something that I don't know if you're like planeswalker heavy deck wants to be playing Urza Saga, or just it doesn't even have to be like I don't know if your deck that runs like I don't know like 6 planeswalkers in it or more wants to run Urza Saga, you put this in. Like I mean, it doesn't seem bad. It seems like there's a lot of application for this.
I think it for sure goes into Devoted Druid, and then after that, I'm pretty dubious on it.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
The other thing is, so like as someone who has played Devoted Druid's problem is not lack of combo pieces. Its problem is that you have to pass the turn before you can untap and use Druid, and that you need a 3-card combo because you need Druid, the thing that combos with it, and then an outlet or an infinite mana sink.
Yeah.
And none of these new cards, including Luxior, solve those problems.
That's true.
So like, yes, it's great that it's another tutorable thing that combos with it, but it doesn't solve the underlying issues that Devoted Druid has.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. I can agree with that. Makes sense.
All right. moving on to Maestros Charm. This is the Grixis Charm of the set. 3 mana instant. Choose one. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. Put one of those cards into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Or each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Or it deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker.
I don't know. It looks cool with the look at the top 5 cards and put like I could see that maybe in like a Dredge deck, but I feel like Dredge has better options.
Dredge does have better options.
Yeah, it's having to rely on getting a 3 in Dredge is just like I don't know. You can't quite do it.
Right.
You could also play it in Grixis Death Shadow, but that deck also probably just has more efficient options.
Yeah, Grixis Death Shadow has so many good cards.
I just feel like
so efficient.
I feel like a lot of these charms, they didn't really take into the fact that like you have to get 3 colored different sources, which is a really hard thing to do and just like in general. And it's like I don't know. I feel like I feel like they could have made them a little bit stronger. A lot of them.
Well, I feel like they're all balanced for standard.
Yeah, they're all balanced for standard.
That's true.
The place that charms generally like wind up finding success in is like various different control decks that are like looking to go late and want versatile answers.
That's true.
And I don't know. So far, I haven't seen one that I feel like fully fits in one of those decks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So can we agree that the drain 3 life mode on this sucks, and it's the other 2 modes that you care about?
Yeah.
The drain 3 life is pretty lame.
Dealing 5 is honestly in modern, it's like not that much better than just dealing 3. Like it doesn't kill Titan. It doesn't kill Murktide. It kills Yawgmoth, but I don't know.
I just feel like there's better answers at lower CMC cost.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like these types of, I feel like to make use of this card, you need to like want to use the first ability for something,
and then fill your graveyard up for a Snapcaster or Croxa or any cards like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Like some Grixis control deck that wants to fill its graveyard, but then also have like a removal spell.
I don't know what it is, but for some reason, players who love the Grixis color combination for control decks are so much more fanatical about their deck than everyone else.
Probably.
And it's just never, and the deck is just never as good as just blue-white control.
Yeah, that's yeah. In modern, yeah, that seems right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to Mysterious Limousine, which is a 5-mana white artifact vehicle that costs 3 white. It is a 4/4, and it says when it enters or attacks, exile up to 1 other target creature until it leaves. If a creature is put into exile this way, return each other card exiled with Mysterious Limousine to the battlefield under its owner's control. So basically, once it enters and exiles something, if you attack with it, you can exile another thing, but then the previous thing you exiled will come back. And it has crew too. I put this on the list just because it is a removal spell that can kill anything that you can get with Karn, the Great Creator.
You're right.
Although there are no Karn decks that are white at the moment, but
that's true.
It's a thing.
Mono white Tron.
It's a way to grab a Solitude-ish card out of your sideboard that is cheaper than Spine of Saw.
Yeah.
Other than that, I can't really think of a use for it.
This just looks like a really cool card in draft, and that's about it. It's cool. I love this. Like it just looks cool, and I love the art, and it's funny. But like, I don't think I'd play this anywhere.
Yeah.
All right. So that was quick. Moving on.
Yeah.
Nixilis the Adversary is a 3-mana, 1 black and red legendary planeswalker Nixilis with 3 loyalty. It has Casualty X, and the Casualty X, the copy isn't legendary, it has starting loyalty X. So basically, you can sacrifice a creature of any power, any creature, when you cast Nixilis to make a copy of Nixilis that isn't legendary and will have loyalty equal to the power of whatever you sacrificed. So then its abilities are +1, each opponent loses 2 life unless they discard a card, and if you control a demon or a devil, you gain 2 life. -2, create a 1/1 red devil token with when it dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. And then -7, target player draws 7 and loses 7.
This card slaps. This
pretty cool.
card, so specifically in Pioneer. So we haven't talked about Pioneer. I've been playing Pioneer. I have a red-black mid-range deck. I am really excited for this card. This card is so cool because like you play like the Blood Tithe Harvesters, you play like the Graveyard Trespassers and stuff like that. So you have a bunch of like really heavy power creatures. The blood, it's a 2-mana like 3/2, so you can easily get like another copy that's also 3 loyalty and just double uptick. And a hard thing with that deck is like finishing someone off because it's like a mid-range deck. And I think it's going to be in at least one of the red-black shells in Pioneer, and I could actually see this card even in Modern.
Yeah, I think the power in this card definitely comes from when you casualty it. Like getting 2 copies is like pretty sick, and I don't really know if there's a good way to like get to the ult. Like I've seen people talk about what's it called, the dinosaur rotting Regisaur with this. I don't know if that's what you want to do.
I feel like trying to get to the ult is just like a trap. I personally think that
I think literally just like double protecting this and protecting it with a bunch of like, I don't know. I feel like even like in a Rakdos sacrifice shell, like in Pioneer as well. Like you play this, sacrifice your cat, your Cauldron Familiar, make 2 of these guys.
That was a deck that people were thinking of,
and like down tick occasionally to like protect it, and then you recur your cat to protect it, and then you just have like 2 planeswalkers that are hard to attack, that are just like going up and killing your opponent and making them discard cards. I don't know, like that's
especially because those decks play like Thought Seizes and stuff like that, so you can get rid of stuff, and then like they don't want to discard like other cards in hand.
What do you, Tommy?
So I think first I want to establish a couple of things about the card. Can we agree on the following? First of all, if you don't casualty this, it's not good enough.
No, it's bad. No,
I agree.
You have to casualty this. Yeah.
Secondly, the demon or devil gains you 2 life clause is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Third, the ultimate is irrelevant.
Yeah, I agree with that one. A lot of people are really like they're trying to like get to the ult by like playing Rotting Regisaur and stuff. I think that's just a trap. I don't think
you want to be there. Yeah.
Fourth, the plus and minus mode are both pressure, so losing life or making a token that can attack and die and deal damage. So the card has to go into an aggressive deck.
Yeah, I could see this in like an aggressive deck. Or
okay. Deck. So those rules being said, I think this card is an auto include in Junsack and the red-black Anvil deck.
Yeah, the Anvil deck for sure. Yeah. The Anvil deck in both Pioneer and Modern, actually.
And Junsack. Junsack's already a deck where it's already an aggressive creature deck that you want to play a bunch of creatures that you already want to sacrifice in. Bloodghast, a bunch of random tokens.
Yeah. And then like having like the Mayhem Devil stacked on top. Oh man, this card's good. This is gonna see play somewhere.
In those aggressive shells, I agree. Or those aggressive like sacrifice shells, just putting 2 of these things on the board, and then your opponents have to swing at it while you're like pinging their life total down, and then you have like stuff to swing at them. Seems like really good pressure.
All right, so moving on, we have Obscura Charm. This one is the Esper Charm and is 3 mana like the other ones. It is an instant with choose 1. Return target multicolored permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Counter target instant or sorcery spell. Or destroy target creature or planeswalker with mana value 3 or less.
Pretty good, I feel like. It's out of the charms, it's better, but I don't know if it's playable. In Modern or EDH, I don't know.
I don't know. I like this one. Got a bunch of hype, I'm pretty sure, and like all the modes can be like relevant, but
decent,
I think, funny enough, I think the one in the middle is probably like one of the less relevant ones. I think that the bottom and top are where it's at, and you need a deck that like has multicolored permanents you want to return with this.
It's a Fairy Time Raveler.
Yeah, that's the one. And then destroying stuff that's 3 or less, like most things are 3 or less, so that's like pretty relevant. I could see this in like, I don't know. I mean, the Esper control already has like the Esper Charm. Is it called Esper Charm?
It is called Esper Charm.
Yeah.
And that one I believe is just draw 2, your opponent discards 2, and then
destroy an enchantment.
Yeah.
I could see this maybe being played as like a 1 or 2 of in an Esper control deck. But I don't know. What do you think, Ami?
I agree. It's pretty much an Esper control card, and I don't see it anywhere else.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on, we have Ognis, the Dragon's Lash, which is another one of these weird hybrid mana cards. It is a 4 mana Jund, 1 red, black, red, red, green. Legendary creature Viashino Warrior, 3/3. It has haste, and it says whenever a creature you control with haste attacks, create a tapped treasure. So I want to ask you guys, is this potentially playable as a Jund commander where you just play like a bunch of cheap haste guys and then you can have a turn where you go like attack with Ognis, generate a bunch of treasures?
This, in terms of EDH or modern, I have no idea.
I'm not looking at this for modern at all. Just EDH.
You can use all 3 of the Jeweled Lotus mana into this guy because of his multicoloredness. That's
this is not playable.
No.
I don't know. I looked at it and I thought like, yeah, this can potentially generate a bunch of mana.
The thing is, it comes in tapped. If it didn't come in tapped.
Oh, sorry, I misread that. The treasures are tapped. Jeez. Okay.
Yeah.
Much worse.
That's the thing that makes this like it like looks really cool, and then it says treasures are tapped, and you're just like, okay, bye.
You're like, it might be okay, and then you see tap.
You can't wait an extra turn in cEDH. You have to get value off your creatures like now.
Like, I need it now.
All right, moving on. We've got Oskar, Rubbish Reclaimer. Is a 5 mana, but not really, but we'll get to that. It's a 5 mana Dimir 3/3 legendary creature human wizard. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each different mana value among cards in your graveyard. Whenever you discard a non-land card, you may cast it from your graveyard. So what do you guys think of Oskar the Grouch trash bin guy?
I want to get established that he'd probably like 3 mana most of the time.
Fetch land plus spell.
Like just a spell, you know.
Yep. And potentially like 2. Right? Maybe I should rephrase. What do you guys think about Anya in better colors?
Yeah. I think it's like very different than Anya though. But it's I don't know. I don't know how to evaluate this card exactly. Like the being able to capitalize off of like discarding cards and essentially like drawing them like for that turn, it's almost like when you discard them you get like an impulse, right? And then you get to play them till
it's impulse draw is the term.
Yeah, impulse draw. Yeah, so it's kind of like that. I don't know, you could play like some weird Dimir like breakthrough storm deck, I guess, but I don't know, I think it's like probably like not the best. What do you think, Jesse?
I don't know. You discard a non-land card. Yeah. I don't know. It seems like it's like.
Isn't this like an extremely good ritual wheel commander?
Yeah, but it's only Dimir.
It's gonna be in red.
It needs to be in red. If this had a red, this would be pretty good. But being Dimir, it doesn't. It's Dimir, but it's not doing something that
Wheel
Dimir
of Fortune, Wheel of Misfortune, and then you.
What does it need from red other than Dockside Breach?
Wheels.
The good wheels, the ones that discard.
You got Windfall and
Windfall Twister,
pretty much.
Yeah,
there's the ones that are more than 3 mana.
Yeah, I mean, if you had red, you could
Whispering Madness. But I think if this was Grixis, we'd have more of a discussion here. Because like you get I don't know, but like most of the time when you're wheeling, you're dumping your hand anyways. So it's like.
What about just as a value commander, and you can pair it with stuff like Frantic Search?
I think that's probably more likely to be what it's about, but I still think it's like I think they're just better commanders. Yeah, that's kind of my opinion, but I think someone could maybe prove me wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems pretty cool. It's not a bad card at all.
All right. So moving on to the next card, we have Patch Up. Is a 3-mana white sorcery, and it says return up to 3 target creature cards with total mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Beautiful.
I like this.
It makes me happy.
I don't know what you really do with it. Like, I mean, obviously the best case scenario is like I play white in my Death Shadow deck and I return 3 Death Shadows to play. But realistically, that's not happening. But so I'm not really sure what you do with it. But the rate seems really good.
I don't know either. Yeah, the rate's great. It
seems like a card that's like, it seems like a card that's really good. I just don't know what's gonna like go with it, but I feel like it's gonna see some play.
Maybe are there any creatures that like are like really low mana cost, but actually have like an additional cost that's like hard to pay that you can like return them out of your graveyard and like effectively cheat that cost?
Yeah.
I can't think of anything.
I was actually watching this video on like this like Hushbringer Torpor
Orb Horror deck.
Yes, Orb Horror, that deck. Yeah. This would probably go in Orb Horror.
Yeah. Returning the Titans or whatever and then having them being
or even just your Hushbringers and your what's the other one?
Hushbringer Dreadnought, although that's like legacy, but
yeah. Stuff like that. I could see some weird stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. The rate's really good. It can hit like 3 things. But I don't know what the shell is that wants this. Maybe I don't know. Like I'm not sure. It's
so notably there was already a card similar to this from my Courier, Death Dweller's Pit or whatever the heck it's called, which was a black 3-mana sorcery, but it only returned 2 creatures, not 3.
Yeah. And
that card wasn't good enough. So maybe this one will be with an additional creature you can return.
It's also like a different color, so this could be used in like a Boros deck or something.
So you can return all your Death Shadow, Dragon Rage Chandler, Ragavan, Asper Sentinel. Those are the ones that come to mind as cheap things.
Probably in the age of hyper efficiency, it's probably like just like not gonna get there with anything, but you know, I hate to be pessimistic.
All right, ready to move on?
Yeah.
So next is Riveteers Charm. This is the Jund Charm and is 3 mana instant. Target opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker they control with the highest mana value among creatures and planeswalkers they control, or exile the top 3 cards of your library until your next end step. You may play those cards, and exile target player's graveyard. So this would seem to put Jund back on the map, right?
This is the best charm, I think, like by a couple.
Kill spell that can also like draw 3 cards for your next turn.
Yeah, this seems pretty good.
3 mana, like, yeah, seems pretty good. Like, do you think this is like going in a Boomer Jund shell, or do you think it's like?
Yep.
Yeah, I could see it in a Boomer Jund shell.
Do you think they would like? I feel like it would be in like a Boomer Jund-esque shell that's like not playing, I don't know, that's like slimmed down ever so slightly, so that way you can actually like make use of the 3
so like not playing Bloodbraid Elf maybe, or just playing generally cheaper cards.
Yeah, generally cheaper cards, but other than that, like the same sort of shell. You can't freaking you couldn't run Saga in a deck playing this card. But exile graveyard's like also fine too. There's like scenarios where you can do that, but being a kill spell for Murktide Regent and a bunch of other stuff, and then also just like drawing 3 is like, yeah, I can see that. What do you think it would be, like a 2 of though?
How many Colligan's commands does the deck play right now? Or I guess, well, it's probably not replacing that. It's probably replacing Bloodbraid or whatever the high end stuff is. 2 or 3 of probably.
Yeah, I think so.
It's most charm. I don't think I ever really see 4 of charms most of the time.
Yeah, it's like the really stupid good ones.
Yeah, even with Archmages, it's usually like a 3 of.
That's true.
All right, let's move on 2, Rob the Archives. 2 mana red sorcery with casualty 1. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn. So if you pay 2 and sacrifice a tiny creature, you can exile the top 4 cards of your library and play those cards this turn.
Yeah.
I like this until it said this turn. I thought it was till your next turn, like light up the stage.
Yeah. It would just be better than the other card they printed recently. But it's weird. Yeah.
I think light up the stage is personally just better, especially in like a more aggro-y deck. The fact that you have to sack something and you're probably only playing this in an aggro deck, you're killing one of your creatures that's going to be,
Well, you don't have to sack something. You only have to if you want to exile 4.
But
you can't play them until the end of next turn.
Yeah, but then if you're not like with all the casualty or pretty much all of them, if you're not sacking something,
I think this one's the exception. I think this one is good enough without the casualty.
Yeah. What's the card? Reckless Impulse?
Reckless
Impulse? Yeah, so there are like the mono red prowess decks that will play the version of this card that doesn't have casualty.
Yeah, so Reckless Impulse is until your next turn, which I think is somewhat relevant. Actually, I mean, I actually have the deck in paper and I've played it. I feel like it's pretty relevant, actually. The fact that you can play it to your next turn, you can just use it to kind of like pseudo card draw.
Because realistically, you're going to want at least 4 mana before you cast this.
Yeah, I agree with that.
At that point, it's like with that deck, you're always on like 2 to 3.
That or I mean, you could cast it on 2, trying to hit your land drop and like maybe a 1-drop as well. But you're not going to casualty it early. It's something you casualty late when your 1-drops are like, kind of useless, and then it's something you maybe cast early when you need to like hit your land drop and just like keep progressing in the game. That's kind of how I feel. I don't think it'll see play in Modern. I think it's probably going to be played in I don't know, like an aggressive red deck in Standard or something, though. Like being able to get rid of your 1-drops when they're useless and just turn them into like other cards that can be like burn spells to the face. Seems all right.
I do agree. It's probably just worse than Light Up the Stage or Reckless Impulse or any of those other cards. But it is interesting as a potentially draw 4 sort of card for 2 mana.
Yeah, it is cool.
All right, moving on to Rocco, Cabaretti Caterer, which is a X red, green, white legendary creature elf druid 3/1.
Elf.
Ooh. And it says, when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you may search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle. So it's another in a long line of Court of Calling type search cards. Yeah. Except that it's probably worse than all of those other search cards.
Yeah. Let's establish this isn't playable anywhere other than in the command zone and Commander, right? Do we agree on that?
I think it could be playable maybe in Modern like Court of Calling type decks that have 1, the colors to play Naya, and 2, want more Court of Callings as like a 1-of card, maybe.
I think Chord being reduced by the like creatures just makes it like a lot better.
Well, I don't disagree that Chord is a much better card. I'm saying if you want Chord number 5, basically.
Like maybe in like a Yorion deck then maybe that like wants their 5th copy or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see that. But outside of that, I think that this is just like a Commander card. And I think it's actually like, I think this has a lot of potential. I don't know like where exactly it would fit in the cEDH meta and like what game plan it needs to fulfill, whether it needs to be like heavy stacks or it needs to be like a light stacks version. But Naya is like, this is just going to be like combo city. The first thing we can do with Rocco is you can get like Wirewood Symbiote. So you basically, with Wirewood, you can keep bouncing Rocco and you can untap your fat mana dork. So you can just like keep casting Rocco, getting other stuff. Then there's like, I don't know. I feel like this works pretty well with like Dockside.
Teamer Sabretooth?
Yeah. So you can like.
Or Emil.
Yeah, I like Teamer Sabretooth a little bit more. I think you'd probably like want to play both, but I I like Teamer more because it can also just bounce Rocco, so you can like replay Rocco. But that's like pretty cool. I think that might be a little too slow. Rocco is really expensive. Like really expensive to like get that stuff going under.
You need to pay 5 mana at least for it, right?
Yeah. The first time you're doing it, you can do it for 4 just to get Wirewood, but to actually get any like value off of it, you're not getting Dryad Arbor with this 99% of the time. But you know, people say that it's like, hey, 3 mana ramp 1. No. But no, it's cool. I think that it's probably though. I think it's gonna need to like be a heavy stacks variant so it can like actually have the time to get up to the mana cost that you want to be casting this thing for. And in a heavy stacks variant, I don't know that you're going to be able to do Teamer Sabertooth loops because you're probably going to want to play Rule of Law effects, you know?
Yeah, I don't know where this card is. That's a cool elf.
But it's good. It's going to see play, right?
Yeah, I think so.
People are going to test with it, yeah.
It's going to be...
stick around, but yeah.
People are probably going to do Kiki lines with this.
That could be.
They're going to layer Kiki Dockside stuff, or excuse me, they're going to layer like the Dockside Emil stuff with Emil and Village Bellringer, which Village Bellringer also combos with Kiki. And so you get kind of like this combo soup where it's like you're going to draw one of your cards and you find the other one. And if you don't, you can like, you know, settle in for the long game and cast him like 2 times and then win.
Can you believe this card's an uncommon?
That's
what? I did not expect that to be an uncommon. I thought it was a rare. That's funny.
Yeah.
I did not. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to Scheming Fence. It is a white and a blue creature, human citizen, 2/3. As it enters the battlefield, you may choose a non-land permanent. Activated abilities of the chosen permanent can't be activated. And Scheming Fence has all activated abilities of the chosen permanent except for loyalty abilities. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to activate those abilities. So let me give you quickly my transformational opinion of this card. So I saw this card at first and I thought, wow, this card's great. It's like, you know, it's like a Pithing Needle creature. This card's awesome. And then I looked at it and I'm like, well, the activated abilities part doesn't let you activate loyalty abilities, which is probably the only abilities you'd want to activate for the most part. Yeah. So it doesn't affect that. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You can't choose anything? So like Needle and Phyrexian Revoker, you can just choose whatever card. This can only choose cards that are already in play.
Wait, what?
It says, yeah, you choose a non-land permanent, not name a card. It only chooses things that are already in play. Can't hit lands. You can't choose. So stuff like, you know, Pithing Needle can hit like Beseiju, so they can't channel Beseiju from their hand. This can't do that either.
Yeah.
So there's so many things that it doesn't hit to where I'm just like, oh, this card's actually really bad and just a strictly worse version of Revoker.
I personally actually think this card's really good, but only in cEDH, not in like Modern or anything like that.
Really? You think it's good in cEDH?
Yeah, I could see this, and like what I was thinking of is like like a Bruce, like what is it, the Bruce Thrasios deck, where it's just like it's trying to just get so much value. And also I was thinking of it's like maybe like Thrasios or something.
I'll say this, in a heavy like mid-range infested, and I mean like it ridden.
You mean Finch and Spara?
Where everyone's playing like Thrasios piles with activated abilities everywhere, and you want to like stop all of your opponents like from doing that stuff. I agree.
I like it, but it's probably not good.
I don't think it's good.
Yeah, Jesse, please explain to me your reasoning for why this is better than Phyrexian Revoker.
It's not. I play Phyrexian Revoker too. It's not.
So it's only playable if you're 1 in blue and white, 2 already want Revoker, and then 3 want another Revoker.
Yes. Which is not very often. But
got it.
It's cool.
All right, moving on. We've got Shadow of Mortality.
Woo.
Can you guys guess why I put this card? Let me read the card first. It's a 15 mana black creature. Woo. That's a 7/7, and it says if your life total is less than your starting life total, this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the difference.
So this is
So why did I put this on the list for us to discuss?
Calibrated Blast.
Yes.
Wait, actually?
Yes. It goes in Calibrated Blast as a card that is an extremely high mana value that you can maybe cast in the game. Whereas Emrakul and a Tocton Worm are not castable. So it's a strict upgrade to that deck.
It is a strict update to one of the best decks in Modern right now. I'd say a tier 0 deck, Calibrated Blast.
Not playable in Death Shadow.
No.
Could be playable in like Historic. I don't know.
Pioneer, I was thinking, is like maybe.
Right.
I don't think you hurt yourself enough though.
Yeah.
So at minimum, the most I'd be willing to pay for this is 3 mana. So you need to be at how much? You need to be at 8 life, right?
8 life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like they should have made it.
Is there
a
anything to
little bit...
neoform this into? I don't think that's good
Oh
either.
dear lord.
Well, no, because the mana values don't go above 15.
Oh,
I feel like they should have made.
You can Eldritch Evolution it to get something that costs less.
true.
I feel
Sorry,
like
what were you saying, Jesse?
I feel like they could have made this like, because Death Shadow's a 13/13, and I think they just wanted to be flavorful and make it like a 7/7. But I think by making it a 7/7, it's made it a lot. I feel like if it was like a 10/10 or something, it'd be like a little bit better. Obviously, I don't know.
Words are good.
Here's another question: how in the world does this card not have flying?
Yeah.
Look at the card.
Nah, that's pretty funny. It's an avatar too. That's actually really funny.
I don't know.
It's like, literally flying in the art.
You give Murktide Regent like keywords on it. You can give this thing a keyword.
Right.
But this is a standard set though. We don't put keyword soup onto cards.
That's true. Yeah. We've been spoiled by Modern Horizon.
All right, moving on from Shadow.
Yeah.
We have Structural Assault, which is a 5 mana red sorcery, 3 red, that says destroy all artifacts, then Structural Assault deals damage to each creature equal to the number of artifacts that are put into graveyards from the battlefield this turn.
Fun, casual board wipe, unless I'm not saying something.
Jessica to vet. No, I'm kidding.
Well, it's a board wipe that kills all the creatures and artifacts, which I don't think there are any board wipes that do that for less than 6 at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's also like sometimes it doesn't work and gets awkward. So it's like, I don't know. That's how I look at it.
If you're a deck that wants to kill artifacts and creatures and is not playing critical artifacts of your own, then it's a sort of a board wipe for that.
I feel like I'd rather just play like Vandal Blast or something, get rid of things I actually want, and then play like also like.
No, that's interesting though. Being able. Now I'm starting to think about it for Jessica.
Jessica to vet.
I don't really want to play. You don't really want to play 5 mana board wipes in that deck though.
No.
But being able to hit artifacts is something that I've kind of wanted for that deck. But honestly, that's kind of just a pet deck of mine. Yeah, I don't know how. I think it's like actually decent. But it's 5 mana. And sometimes it's awkward and doesn't quite work. So yeah.
Play, but.
All right, moving on. Titan of Industry is a 7 mana green creature that costs 4 green. It is an elemental. It has reach and trample. And it says when it enters, choose 2 of the following modes. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Target player gains 5 life. Create a 4/4 green Rhino Warrior creature token. Or put a shield counter on a creature you control. This is here because maybe Amulet Titan wants this in the sideboard.
You think?
Really?
I guess it shoots artifacts and enchantments.
It's a big green creature that Amulet Titan can cast that is a stabilizing creature because you can gain life or blow up hate cards.
Like extra blocker.
Yeah, but Amulet, I feel like Amulet doesn't even want to gain life. They like already gain enough. The Amulet versus Burn is like, oh fuck, that's a joke. That matchup, they like smack Burn.
I feel like if you want to stabilize it, you just win.
Just play Amulet, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they just play
the one
Titan and then they fetch up their gain life lands and
so unironically the one thing I actually thought of this was not for Amulet. I was actually thinking of this in like Reanimator because it's not legendary and you can persist it.
Yeah, but isn't Arcana Cruelty just like better than this card?
Yeah.
Oh, probably. Yeah, but like that's the only other place I could see it.
There's also the potential for this card to just be in the main board of Amulet and replace Cultivator Colossus, because there's a lot of times when Cultivator Colossus just doesn't do anything. You're like, yes, there's the times when Cultivator Colossus is really great. You just put a, you draw like 10 lands in a row and just flood your field. But then there's times where you play Cultivator Colossus and it does nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Cultivator Colossus,
though, right? Like, what situations do you really like want this as a one-of in main deck when you can't just like play Titan and be happy about it?
It's because it's just if you don't have Titan. Like that's why the deck plays Cultivator, because sometimes you just don't have Titan.
They always have Titan. Between their summoners packs and stuff. I don't know.
They actually, as a player who's played Titan many times, you actually sometimes just don't have Titan.
Yeah,
that's true.
I don't know. I can't see it, but I have not played a bunch of Titan.
I played against it.
This is a Titan, so maybe
right in the name. Like you got to play it, right?
Yeah.
It's also a giant building robot, which is awesome.
It is pretty cool.
The card's cool. I'll give it that. That card looks dope. Like that
this thing is the ultimate Chungerzoid.
I love that it's called Titan of Industry too. That's just a cool name.
Titan of Industry.
All right, outside of Amulet Titan, not seeing play anywhere, right?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. We've got Unlucky Witness. Is a red single mana 1/1 creature human citizen. When it dies, exile the top 2 cards of your library. Until your next end step, you may play one of those cards.
Huh.
This will probably be played in standard.
This is like a cool aggro.
And when you sacrifice it to your different casualty stuff, like I don't know, this looks like casualty fodder.
Yeah,
I guess it's like
that one card
with
I have a much higher opinion of this card than you guys do.
Oh yeah.
So what I was thinking with is the other like that casualty card that we're talking about that like exiles the top, but you can casualty it. You're looking at like, geez, that's like dig 6? Like that's pretty nuts.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, as with all the casualty fodder in the set, I just look at it in terms of like Junsack and the red black Anvil deck, where it's a super cheap card that can go in a deck that already wants cheap creatures to sacrifice, and it's a sort of card advantage and not engine, but a card advantage card in those decks. Like the Anvil deck already plays Experimental Synthesizer, so why wouldn't it play this card as well?
Synthesizer is a 2-for-1 though, because it gets 2 cards. This is like, I guess you get the sacrifice effect.
You can only play one of them.
So it depends on how powerful like your sacrifice effect is. And then you get to like look at the top 2, which is significantly better than just like getting only than only getting one. You don't get both of them. Like it says you get one, but still like the top 2 is good. But I don't know. I just like I don't know if the like being a sacrifice fodder to get. Like, I don't know how much that actually winds up being worth.
I think it's cool in Junsack. I agree.
All right. Moving on. We got Vivien on the Hunt, which is a 6 mana green legendary planeswalker Vivien. Starts with 4 loyalty. And it says, +2, you may sacrifice a creature. If you do, search your library for a creature card with mana value equal to 1 plus the sacrifice creature's mana value. Put it onto the battlefield and then shuffle. And then it also has some other abilities, which I guess I should read. +1, mill 5, then put any number of creature cards milled this way into your hand. -1, create a 4/4 Rhino warrior token. But really, who cares about that? It goes infinite with Planebound Accomplice.
Yeah, this is just birthing pod Planebound Accomplice weird combo with Kiki and.
So to explain the combo, Planebound Accomplice is a 3 mana 1/3 red creature that has pay a red mana. And you may put a planeswalker card from your hand onto the battlefield and then sack it at the beginning of the next end step. So if you have 4 mana, you can go Planebound Accomplice, activate it, put Vivien into play, +2 Vivien, sack your Planebound Accomplice, go search for Felidar Guardian, which blinks Vivien. Vivien comes back, you sack Felidar, which finds Karmic Guide, which puts Felidar back into play, which blinks Vivien, which puts Vivien back into play, and then you sack Felidar again, and you get Kiki Jiki, which copies Karmic Guide, which puts Felidar back into play, which blinks Kiki Jiki, and then you go infinite.
Yeah, it's just it's a weird combo. Everyone has got hype about this. Planebound Accomplice went from like 10 cents to $4. Yeah, it's kind of a weird combo.
It wins, but so does like Planebound Accomplice Luca. I mean, I guess you get to play actual like other creatures in your deck, which is cool. I don't know. Planebound Accomplice has always just felt like a very gimmicky card to me.
No, yeah, I agree with that.
It seems similar to like Saheeli Felidar Guardians, another combo, but where the combo pieces are not really that good. But Saheeli and Felidar at least blink stuff, which is good with a bunch of cards like Fury and whatnot. Whereas Planebound Accomplice does actual nothing unless you have Vivien.
Yeah, that is a problem. Just Vivien. I mean, Vivien. This is like a really good Birthing Pod is just a nuts card that's banned. Obviously,
like,
it's really expensive.
It's really. I don't know. Or those decks have not been like historically very successful. They've been there, but
I don't know. Everyone was hyped
around with it, but I don't see it like doing much.
I know people are gonna do some stuff with it. I'm just gonna like ignore it until it becomes an actual thing.
This feels like another one of those like tier 2 to tier 3 combos where you could make a deck out of it and win, but it's not that great.
It's like when it draws well, you're gonna be like, whoa, and then when it doesn't, you're gonna be like, this sucks.
It's like Neobrand. Like it's literally Neobrand.
It's different. I think it's different.
Oh, it's different, but like it's that type of deck.
All right. Also, basically, and then outside of that, Planebound Accomplice combo, this card has no use, right?
Yeah,
100%.
All right, moving on to Void Rend. This is the secret Esper Charm of the set. It is white, blue, and black, instant, can't be countered, destroy target non-land permanent.
Cool.
I kind of like this. This is like a Abrupt Decay, in my mind.
Yeah. Like it's 3, which is worse, but
but it hits anything.
It like includes planeswalkers, enchantments.
So Vindicate, but it's instant speed and can't be countered, but it can't hit lands.
Yeah, but like,
it's gonna be played in Esper Control.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, I don't think there's much more to say.
Yeah, I could see it being played in some fashion in cEDH. It's pretty slow, but I could possibly be seeing some decks playing.
Uncounterable is always fun.
Uncounterable is that's the fact that it's uncountable is very, very good.
And you don't have to be quite as efficient.
Exactly.
But people don't play the other what is the 3 mana split second card that
Croson Grip?
Yeah, Croson Grip. People don't play that.
It's 2 mana.
No, it's 3.
Oh, it's 3? Oh.
But Croson Grip hits significantly fewer cards than this does.
It does.
Yeah, way fewer. Yeah. I could see this being played in cEDH, but maybe tested, but not like fully played.
Moving on to Witness Protection is a single blue aura with enchant creature. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a green and white citizen with power 1/1 named Legitimate Business Person.
I love this card.
So if you want to spend 1 mana to blank someone's commander, it does that.
Yeah. That's pretty much what it is. I think you play Kenra's Transformation.
Kenra's Transformation, which is a way better card because it replaces itself.
Right. Yeah. I think replacing itself for these type of effects is actually pretty important. But I still think this is this is playable.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a good budget card.
So, yeah, I could see it played like that, or maybe if you really you're playing against 3 different commander-centric commanders constantly. Winota, Goda, and
you're like, I just need everything, and I need it to be cheap. Dark Steel Mutation, you.
Yeah, exactly.
Witness Protection, you.
So yeah, in that case, it's playable, I'd say.
And then moving on to our final card, we have Witty Roastmaster, which is a 3 mana red 3/2 Devil Citizen creature with Alliance, which is whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. So if you have a way to flicker creatures over and over, it will infinitely damage your opponents and kill them. Or if you just, generate a bunch of tokens, or you have Norin the Wary or whatever, it can just keep...
Isn't Perforos? It's kind of similar to...
Yeah, it's like Impact Tremors or Perforos type card.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can see this being played in some type of combo.
Oh,
as a second
play
piece.
Norin the Wary and
Mhm.
you win.
Norin the Wary? What?
Norin the Wary.
Yeah,
You know Norin the Wary, Jesse?
I do not.
It's a 1-mana creature that that flickers out until end of turn anytime a spell or gets cast or a creature attacks.
Yeah.
Oh, someone built. Oh, they're gonna love that. Someone built that on Playing with Power, and they're playing it. It's actually a hilarious deck. Okay, that would definitely be in here because they play the Impact Tremors too. Yeah, this is going to Northern the Worry, and I don't know.
Yeah.
So like it's Impact Tremors, Porphyros. If you're playing Impact Tremors or Porphyros, you're also playing this card.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like.
And modern application wise, Impact Tremors is a better card, and that card sees no play either. So
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
unless there's some sort of like creature loop where you can infinitely blink a creature over and over, and this is a creature that can be tutored for easier than you can get Impact Tremors.
I don't
But
think there is though.
I don't think
Not
so.
one that takes like a reasonable amount of mana to do.
Hey, it's a common, so it's pauper playable.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, probably not.
all right, so that is the end of our list. Did you guys want to discuss any card that I didn't put on here?
No, this is a pretty good list. I liked a
don't
lot of
think
it. I guess we can go, I don't know, over like, I guess I'll say like, I think the big cards are like An Offer You Can't Refuse, Evelyn, Nixilis, and probably the Jun Charm was like the ones that I've seen. Those are the ones I'm most excited for, I'd say.
It probably is like the highest impact on modern.
Yeah, modern and cEDH, like for those cards.
Yeah.
I would add Luxior to that list as just another way to combo with Druid.
Oh, that's true. Those Druid combos seem slightly gimmicky, but I could see it do it.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. I'm curious more on like why you think like Titan of Industries works in the Titan deck.
Because so yes, it seems surprising, but even with 4 Titans and 4 Summoners packs, sometimes you just don't draw Titan. And one of the big problems with Amulet Titan is just not having a threat where you'll get to turn 3, 4, 5 and you just don't have anything. And that's why the deck plays Cultivator Colossus, because it just needs more threats. And even that is not good enough a lot of times. And Cultivator Colossus, in a lot of cases, you'll play out all the lands in your hand, and then you have a Colossus, and it's like, okay, great, I can play this 4/4 for 7 mana that does nothing. Or maybe you have a land in your hand, and you play your Cultivator Colossus.
It draws like 1 card.
And draws 1 card, and that's it. So there's lots of times when because Colossus is great. You remember it for those turns when your opponent draws like 7 cards in a row, and the Colossus is huge, and the Amulet untaps all the lands that come into play, and they cast another thing. But that doesn't happen a lot, and what more often happens is like Cultivator Colossus is one of the first cards I side out in any matchup.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I could see that. That's cool. Do you have any cards?
So like, yes, the ceiling is much lower than Colossus, but it has a guaranteed floor of what it's going to do. Like it's at least going to put 11 power into play, or it's going to
2 blockers and gain 5 life.
Or it's going to gain life against the aggro decks, or it's going to blow up. I think the artifact enchantment destruction mode is the most relevant part of it.
Yeah. Well, what kind of like main deck stuff is problematic that like having
Mirror Match is one of them.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Just any deck hard Hammer Time. Like there's plenty of decks where you just need that effect.
It's interesting. Oh, I'm well now actually a card that I hadn't really thought about it a lot is this Cryptic Pursuit card. And it's like applications in like a Dargo shell. Same with Nixilis, that could be played in a Grixis Dargo deck.
Opposite.
Yeah, because you can sack Dargo for after casting him for 1 mana with Nixilis, and then ult Nixilis to draw 7.
Yeah, I think equally we can all agree that Ognis, the Dragon's Lash, is definitely the best card from the set.
Ognis, the Dragon.
Guaranteed best Jund commander now over Corvold and Lord Windgrace.
Yes.
Exactly.
Nothing else stands a chance against the power of Ognis.
The Vishinu warrior.
I think Evelyn's like the sweetest commander to build around from the set.
Yeah,
100%. Evelyn's sick. I like borderline considering like actually building the deck. That it looks really cool. I've always wanted to do World Gorger loops.
Yeah, it's cool, and it's like really good at winning at instant speed with them too, because
Exactly.
you can just like flash it in after doing your stuff. Yeah, seems cool.
Yeah.
Rocco also, I don't know exactly how fast people want to go with Rocco, but I think this card's a little bit better than you guys do in cEDH specifically. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's good anywhere else really. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know. It's just, you get to fetch a lot, and you're in like good colors for creature combo stuff. So
Rocco, yeah.
All right. Well, thanks very much for joining me today, guys.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having us on.
This was fun. I hope we can do it again, maybe on the next set.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. Do you guys have any other closing thoughts?
No, I think we're good here.
I think I am gonna make a big grilled cheese sandwich right now. That's my closing thought.
Yeah, that sounds good. I might build Evelyn, like, unironically. That's probably my only closing thought.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much again.
Awesome.
Yep.